We've had two events in the last 3 years, which I believe signal the end game for the great industrial revolution based on fossil fuels. First event, July 2008. You remember that month? Oil prices hit $147 a barrel on world markets. And all the other prices across the supply chain for all the goods and services went through the roof. Why? This whole civilization is made out of, moved by, and embedded in fossil fuels. It isn't just petrol for the car. We grow our food in petrochemical fertilizers and pesticides for the most part. Most of our pharmaceutical products are still petrochemical based. All of our construction materials are fossil fuel based, from plastic to cement. Our synthetic fiber, our power, our transport, heat and light, all of it's fossil fuels. So we've literally exhumed the burial grounds of the Carboniferous age, and we've taken those composites and we've built a great short-lived civilization. So in 2007, when crude oil prices started to go over 80 a barrel, all the other prices on the supply chain went up. When we hit 120 a barrel, we had food riots in 22 countries because 40% of the human race lives under $2 a day. So when the price of wheat and barley and rye and rice was doubling and trebling at that point, we had 1 billion people in harm's way, and the UN Food and Agriculture Organization put out an alert. We have 1 billion people on the verge of hunger and starvation. At 147 a barrel, people stopped buying because all of the supply chain was too expensive, and the entire economic engine of the Industrial Revolution shut down in July of 2008. What I want to suggest to you tonight is that was the great economic earthquake of the Second Industrial Revolution. The collapse of the financial market 60 days later was the aftershock. They're related. But our world leaders, the business community, the media, we're still focusing on the aftershock, the financial crisis. And until we get to the earthquake, which was July 2008, when oil peaked at 147 a barrel, we're not going to be able to attend to this crisis. We now know the outer limits of how far we can globalize this world based on elite fossil. We are on the cusp of a new convergence of communication energy right now, happening really in the last 24 months, that could get us to a third industrial revolution, hopefully in time, and shift us from geopolitics and ideological thinking to biosphere consciousness. We had a very powerful communication revolution in the last 20 years, the personal computer and the internet. And what's so interesting about this communication technology, it's really different than what I grew up on. I grew up on centralized, top-down communication, radio, television, one-to-many communications. What distinguishes the internet is it's distributed and collaborative in nature, and it's lateral power, side-by-side scale, not top-down. This internet revolution is now converging with a new energy regime, distributed internet communication to organize distributed renewable energies. What are distributed energies that are renewable? The sun shines all over this little planet every day. Underneath the ground where we tread, there's a hot geothermal core of energy ready to be used. If we live in the rural areas, we have agricultural and forestry waste ready to be converted at a moment's notice. If you live on the urban areas on coast, the ocean tides and waves are coming every day with energy. We have enough distributed energy to provide for our species until kingdom comes. 10-year-old kids are coming home, and they're saying to mom and dad, why is the television mode on when there's no one watching that television? Why do we have such a big car in the driveway? Where'd this hamburger come from? And let me give you a case in point, the hamburger. Did this hamburger come from the central rainforest in Central America? Did they have to destroy the tree canopy so the cattle could graze on the little bit of soil there? And when they destroyed the tree canopy, what happened to all the species of animals that live in that tree canopy? Did they go extinct? And when we lost the tree canopy so we could graze the cattle for my hamburger, we lost a CO2 sink to absorb industrial-induced carbon. That means the temperature of the earth goes up, and that means the farmer 20,000 miles away has floods and droughts and can't grow food for his family. They're connecting the dots. That's biosphere consciousness. That's systemic thinking. That's a realization that everything we do has an ecological footprint that affects everyone else and our fellow creatures and the planet we live in.
The great industrial revolution based on fossil fuels is now sunsetting. The price of oil, coal, gas, and other fossil fuels are becoming more expensive. The technologies based on those fossil fuels, like the internal combustion engine, are now exhausted. They have no more multiplier effect. And the entire civilization made out of fossil fuels is now on life support. This problem is compounded by climate change now. Real-time climate change is now affecting agriculture and infrastructure. The result is the price of oil and other goods and services are going up. Unemployment is continuing to rise. We're moving deeper into debt, and we have a civilization in the throes of a crisis. What do? We need a new economic vision for the world that's compelling. We need a new economic game plan for the world that's deliverable. We have to move off carbon-based fossil fuels in 30 years. And this new plan has to move as quickly in the developing nations as in the developed world. So we need to step back and ask the question, how do the great economic revolutions in history occur?